Hello and welcome to Edukemy's YouTube channel. My name is Harsh Singh and in this video we shall discuss current affairs and Gazette for today, that is 4th of February 2022. Welcome everybody. Welcome participants of this discussion. Amlan, Bhavani, Netra, Lost Soul, welcome back. Hema, Ashish, good evening. And then we have Kriti, Ravi, Sam. Other people joining in right now. Jugnu, welcome back. Hi Pooja. Hello Kanupriya, welcome. Now Kanupriya, you don't participate in the discussions. This is not done. You have to answer to a question like this. It is a very relevant question. I have also simplified it for you people. So we have Jugnu, we have Lost Soul, and we do have a few more people. You have raised your hands. The question was quite simple. People viewing this offline, the question was very simple. The question just meant if government of India wants to sell its assets, for example Air India, BPCL company, any other PSU company, banks, fertilizer company, what does hold it to sell these assets? What is the disadvantage because of which others are not purchasing these assets of the government? And if this sale is done, then what are the advantages? So 5 points to mention about the issues and 3 points of advantage. Simple question. So see, just think of it as me having a property or you having a property. And if that property is not being sold in the market, what are the causes? Probably the market value of the property that I have put, that is far higher than the real value of the property. Probably the kind of asset that we have will not fetch the kind of revenues the private sector is expecting. Possibly people don't have money to be able to purchase at this time. Probably this is not the best time for asset demonetization. And probably we have put very ambitious targets for this, right? So you think of it as your personal issue, and then probably you will start looking for diversified answers. And in reality, these are the answers to a question like this. So you can't give up. You can ask questions, you can look into what other people are responding, but not giving up is not an answer, because if you look into the main examination question paper, this is what is asked. A simple question like this, but it has to be answered within time limit, and it has to have all-round perspective, issues and solutions, solutions, perspectives to it, and some images, some good introduction, some data. Yahi to hai. It's a game of attempting, right? You can't give up here. Somebody rightly told me, a friend who cleared long time back in postal service, he told me that this is a simple, he said to me in Hindi, ye bharti hai. If you see what happens in a recruitment in Fauj, in armed forces or in police, people are asked to run, and if they complete the complete distance, say if it is 100 meters, if they complete in 14 seconds, right, they are through. They are taken in. Simple. If you are able to complete that distance in a limited time, you are taken in. You have to practice it as much as possible. So UPSC is also a similar game. It is not a game of intellect. It is not a game of sharpness. It is a game of labor. It is a game of memorizing and practicing. So if you are able to practice questions within a limited time and not give up, this is the answer to you. And thank you, each of you, for attempting this. I really appreciate this effort, because earlier we had just few people participating. Now many of you are participating, and rest of you can't give up. Vakram, you as well, peace lover. Kanupriya, yes, there is no sorry. It is you're trying and you're looking into what other people are doing. This is a community effort, no? And this is how we grow, right? So great effort by all of you. I can see you all growing. Don't think that you don't know things. You know it. You know it. I gave you the example. So don't worry. The time to make mistakes is right now. You can't afford it in the exams. I was watching some videos of the toppers, and they mentioned very clearly that in the first or second attempt, they were not even aware of the level of rigorous practice it requires in the main examination. Pre-examination clearing is also important, but we have to balance the preparation of both, right? And a lot of things that you are preparing for main, that will also be applicable to pre, no? The discipline that you have, the content of it that you have. So you have to take it side by side. You can't say that pre pehle clear ho jayega, I'll clear mains in next 3 months. No, not possible. So good point is that you started attempting, you started to realize that answer writing is an important value. You started to note data and facts about this. So great effort there. You started to discuss between each other, right? So good. Amlan, I appreciate your curiosity. The question that you asked was, what is the reason that other countries have condemned China's Winter Olympics. See, China is a notorious country, and even if it is not notorious, other people are not happy because of the way it is growing so aggressively, right? China using trade as weapon, right? So many issues, minority persecution. So that's what I said. Look at the weaker points of China. So why would India have a diplomatic boycott of the Olympics? Because of the Galvan Valley person who is leading the Mashal. So this is India boycotting, right? What is the reason for other countries boycotting? Just a few days back, I had shared that EU, European Union, had raised an issue with WTO because China had ensured with Lithuania, with a country like Lithuania, against which it has problems. Remember Taiwan issue that I spoke of? So they had raised an issue with the WTO, the European Union, that China can't be maltreating in terms of trade a country like Lithuania, right? So they have their own issues. A weak point for China again, right? The way it is using trade as weapon. Look at another weakness of China, the Tibetan province and the Xinjiang province, right? So in Xinjiang, the Muslims, and in Tibet, the Buddhists, they are persecuted. So now in news is the Xinjiang province. So USA and other countries, this is a diplomatic boycott, and it is just like, just through a show of hands, they want to say that we don't like you. That's what they want to say. They will be participating. Their athletes will be coming here. This is about China, right? This happens against India also. This happens against developed countries also. This happens against many of the countries. Against Sri Lanka, it happens. Against India, it happens. People say you've committed acts of atrocities in Northeast and in Kashmir, AFSPA. Against USA also it happens. So, black versus white versus brown, this is what they do diplomatically. But physically, they will be participating. The athletes will be going there. So this is one. The other issue that you raised that was that of 51% stakes and 76% stakes. See, when you look at the stakes in an organization, some of the values of stakes are very, very critical, important. 26% stake, 49%, 51%, 76%. Now, this stakes that we talk of is in the board of directors, right? Or the stakes of the company. So if you look at a company in a spherical manner, 100 portions of it, it is possible that a majority chunk is with one person. So this is suppose 80%. This is with say Government of India. So if the proportion of the total asset is with Government of India, that is 80%, then government will have 80% control of the board of directors. If there are 10 director sittings, 8 of them will be of the government. And whenever there is a issue on which voting has to happen, an important voting, many will favor in favor of Government of India because they themselves are Government of India people who have been sitting in the board. So Government of India will have a maximum majority stake in a company. So for very, very strategic calls, having 3/4 majority is very important, and that is why 76% stake is important. On the other hand, majority stake is also important. This is for very, very critical issues. They will not have these kind of majority raised everywhere. You can relate it to the Constitution of India. Whenever there is a removal of the judges or the impeachment of judges or the president, then there are special conditions, right? For president, it is 2/3 of the total majority, right? For the removal of the judges of the Supreme Court, it is 2/3 of the present and voting and majority, that is more than 50% of the total count, right? So they're different, but they are stringent. So these are to be applied in rare situations. On the other hand, simple majority is also applied. So 51% stake if anybody has, it is important. On the other hand, if somebody owns between 20 to 50%, that means they can actually ensure that they can. It is like a veto to them, right? It is like a veto power, and they can maybe stall these kind of resolutions. These kind of resolutions. So this is the reason. Divestment. If it happens, government wants to retain at least 51% control in its organization, so that it has at least majority in the organizations, right? All right. So this is not privatization. Privatization means completely selling it. Divestment is giving it in proportions only. All right. So let's start the current affairs section here. We will keep discussing your doubts one by one. All right. Torch bearer. Absolutely. That's the word. Good. All right. So your daily guide to UPSC current affairs contains 3 important snapshots. First, on National Supercomputing Mission, right? We've got a very good supercomputer now created, 3 petaflops. The second one is Assam-Arunachal Pradesh border dispute in news. Mizoram was also in dispute with Assam. Assam has disputes with the nearby states. Yeah, because the largest sister state here. And India's Press Freedom Index report also released just a couple of days back. We discussed budget, so these got a little delayed. World Cancer Day today. And feature news for on divestment policy of the government. See, this is what happens. Once the budget is released, once the economic survey is released, the whole year we will have some of the other schemes released by the government in due time, because there are 50 odd ministries, 50 plus ministries, and all of them start releasing, they get the funds and they start programs based on what was spoken by the finance minister in the budget. So divestment has been one of the pain points of the government. We see not only understanding the facts of the budget, but understanding various components, because divestment directly comes under the paper 2, right, of the governance, and along with that in paper 3 economy as well. So we will have to understand why the government is failing in divestment. Why is it not able to sell its assets properly? So this is the feature news, a very interesting feature news for today. And the image of the day is from Mars. What has the Perseverance rover done there? Terms and concepts. Hoysala temples, a part of UNESCO heritage sites proposed by the country. Startup capital, not Bangalore, but Delhi now. Parasitic flowering plant found in Andaman and Nicobar. Khasi language, script development and dictionary formation. Editorials for today is on nuclear energy in India. Very beautiful editorial, amazing editorial from ORF. The second one is on global minimum corporate tax, and the third one is on wetland conservation. We had the International Wetland Day, 2nd February, and also a very, very important occasion, 50 years of the Stockholm Conference that was organized in Stockholm, Sweden in the year 1972. 50 years of starting of the mission, what is that, Protection Tiger? What is the name? Project Tiger, yes. And then 50 years again of many other things that were related to environment conservation. United Nations Environment Program, UNEP, got instituted in 1972 itself. Nairobi, Kenya. Am I correct? Right? Am I correct? Nairobi, Kenya, the headquarters of UNEP. Case study of the day is on sustainable housing solutions. A brilliant solution by a person from Kerala. We'll look into this. So let's start this conversation. Questions, most welcome. Doubts, most welcome. You want to have an objection? Sure. So let's start this. National Supercomputing Mission. See, when we look at supercomputing, this is not only a part of Industrial Revolution 4, this is also a necessity for India, considering the digital age and transformation that we are getting into. When the budget itself spoke, the economic survey itself spoke that we are basing our agile approach on the rich data that we have. What is the rich? How is the rich data going to get processed? It is only through supercomputers like this that the rich data is getting processed or going to get processed in a very quick time and delivering great results. So this rich data is the actual oil. The new oil is the rich data, right? And there will be innumerable articles around the news on data. But then data is only fragmented piece of information. Data has to be converted into useful information. When it gets converted into information, this is when this information is analyzed and further used for policy making, decision making, future prediction, right? Extrapolating, you can use all these words: extrapolating, decision making, policy making, and predictions, right? So all this process, this is all automated through supercomputers. This is all automated. In fact, there is the top 500. This is a pre-question in itself. What is top 500? Top 500 people from IIT JEE, top 500 missiles. But this is the top 500 mission. This is the top 500 supercomputers of the world. Supercomputers are those computers which can operate parallelly many instructions and yield results in a very, very short frame of time. And these are non-distributed computers. Please know this. You cannot have one CPU placed in Delhi, another in Mumbai, and another in Chennai and call it a supercomputer. This will be a distributed system. Supercomputers are non-distributed systems, right? This is one thing to note. And this is in news. Why? Because now we have a beautiful computer and we have instituted this computer. Name is Param Pravega, the largest supercomputer in Indian academic institutions, IISc, in Bengaluru. This is what we have, and the speed is 3 petaflops. This is the largest that we have, but don't get embarrassed in the comparisons. The top 500 has 2 to 3 of supercomputers for India, and one of them is in top 100, right? One of them is in top 100. But do you know the speed of the fastest supercomputer in the world? It is a Japanese supercomputer. The speed is approximately 500 petaflops. And what we have is 3 petaflops, 3 to 4. And we are happy in this, studying this. Not a problem, but point being that we are raising our bars, right? Please relate this to India not having the capacity, India in developing indigenous capacity for supercomputers, right? We do not have chips, we do not have quantum computing. This is what can raise the bars. We do not have this. China has it, Japan has this, USA has this. We are still working in binary levels, but quantum computing works at many other levels, just like our neurological brain, right? So it works at 1-0, the quantum computing, and many other smaller levels, right? So it will have infinite levels between 1 and 0. That is how its speed is very fast, right? So this is the situation. What else about this mission? Let us look at this small PPT that I had created. Also, yesterday we had studied the data centers. This is what it looks like from inside. These are, well, imagine what it is. These are the small drives, right? What drives? Hard disks. All hard disks placed here. Many of them placed in serial with each other. And this is not just, one set. There will be hundreds and thousands of sets of this placed inside a place. So yesterday when we spoke of a place where we could institute this complete functionality, what would we need? We need energy, huge energy, intensive. We need land, right? We need expertise, IT expertise. We need the hardware. We have to import all this right now. We don't create all this. You see the challenges. This is from yesterday's. I'm just deriving some information from yesterday. So when we have data centers, data localization, data privacy, data supremacy in India, we will need to process this data, no? So processing is done through supercomputers, right? So along with data centers, we need our supercomputers as well, right? So along with having data localization and cable landing stations in the marine areas, we need to have the supercomputers as well. We do have supercomputers, and we do have a national supercomputing mission also. This is what it is about. So this mission was started in the year 2015, and the objective was to make India one of the world leaders in supercomputers, one of the leaders, right? The idea was to ensure that we have a network, national knowledge network, a beautiful keyword to use, right? So academic institutions, industries, students, all of them will be linked to each other through national knowledge network. High capacity performance computers in IIT Delhi, example. IIT Delhi, IIT Kanpur, AIIMS Haridwar, institutions in Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad, Pune, all of Ahmedabad, space centers, all of them will be collected, and they will form a base for computing, right? So this was the aim, and the idea was to ensure that 70 national research academic institutions connecting to each other. This was the idea, and through this idea, it was instituted in the year 2015. Department of Science and Technology and MITI, they started this, and there are 3 phases in it. The first phase was to ensure that these parts of these supercomputers are brought to India, they are assembled. This is the first phase, right? The second, and initiate a computer. The second is the one in which we will generate a speed of 16 petaflops by networking the computers. Not that individual computer will have this speed, but networking. So right now we have a speed of total 17 petaflops established already. Second phase, right? And the third phase is ensure that the speed increases to 45 petaflops by linking all these institutions with each other. All right, simple enough. All right, petaflops. Ashutosh Rajput, thank you for asking this question. So peta, this is the rate of performance of the computing speed. So tera, peta, okay, let's go like this. So mega, giga, tera, peta. Anybody else? What is after this? So mega is 10 to the power 6, giga is 10 to the power 9, giga tera is 12, peta is 10 to the power 15. it can operate 10 to the power 15 into 3. I said 3 petaflops, right? 3 into 10 to the power 15 operations. This is the speed of this particular computer. It can operate these many operations, binary operations, within a fraction of time, right? So this is the speed of this particular computer. All right, Amlan, yes, 2 new Ramsar sites as well in India. Good. We'll have that covered very soon. We will cover the UNESCO World Heritage Site proposal today. So this is the 3 phase. Now, what is the utility? See, across is one of the utilities. We studied across. Across has been, this mission has been extended for further 3 years. Start relating this. When I say extended for further 3 years, you should quickly remember the agile approach of the government. The government does not institute a plan for running 10 years, every 3 years, and then it will make it more agile with time, right? So across has again been extended as a program, and this is climatic modeling. It is done through supercomputers only. It cannot be done, prediction cannot be done through normal devices, 1 or 2 computer. It needs supercomputers. This is not the only thing. When you look at GIS, geographical information systems, when you look at space technology, when we look at climate modeling, when we look at many other things that relate prediction of Indian economy, all of it can be done through these supercomputers. So this is why this mission is very important. What else? Urban digital mission. See, related to this, if we need a urban digital mission to be executed, we will need supercomputers to process the data here. So this is why this is in focus. All right. See, it says very clearly, cumulative computing speed of 17 petaflops through deployment of 10 supercomputers. What we need for national knowledge network is 70 to 75 computers and a total speed of 45 petaflops. Right now achieved 17, having 10 of them connected, right? And 3 segments of it. See, we don't have it, we are importing it. Kya karega? What will government say? It will just say, yeah, we are importing and we are trying to do our best here, right? But will not feel lachar. We are not helpless. We are trying to make it make in India. How will it happen? We'll make it happen through technocrats and bureaucrats like you people. So get into the stream. There is a lot of India is waiting for you. Param Siddhi is the fastest, and then Pratyush and Mihir. These are the 3 top 500 computers, right? Top 500. That keyword they can ask what is it related to, right? All right. Initiated by technology partners CDAC, a part of the government, right? Floating point operations per second, flops, as you asked. Petaflops are a measure of computers processing speed equal to 1,000 trillion flops, right? 1,000 trillion is 10 to the power 12. So 10 to the power 15. This is what it is. All right. So 1 petaflop computer system can perform 1 quadrillion flops. Supercomputers have 1 million times more processing speed. Whatever I explained is what it is, right? So this is the fastest supercomputer. Japan's Fugako, 442 petaflops. This is the update here, and a small information for you guys here is the difference between supercomputers and high performance computing. High performance computing can be distributed, but supercomputing has to be integrated, right? Supercomputing can also be called as parallel computing, and supercomputing is definitely separate from quantum computing, because supercomputers will be using binary operations, but quantum will be using something else. It will be using various grids of information where the work will happen at quantum level. Something that India has not been able to initiate in our country as of now. We are still working at the levels of chips. Snapshot 2. The second one is an update. Oh yes, thank you. All you guys, nice. Exa, Zeta, Iota. I think, I'm not sure if this is the sequence, Netra. Exa, Iota, Zeta. I think that is the one. And then Femta. Good. Thank you. All right. Snapshot 2 is on Assam and Arunachal Pradesh dispute. See, Assam has been the state, the mother of the sister states in the northeast area, and this was the state which was administered by the Britishes starting from the 19th century onwards. Before that, Ahom kings were the one which were ruling it, and it was very tough for the Britishers to conquer this terrain. And then we also had Myanmar on the border, Britishers again in Myanmar, Burma, right? But this was administered separately and India was administered separately. When India was given independence, all these places which were integrated, they were actually different. They had a lot of diversity. Even a state like Manipur, small state of Manipur, has got immense diversity. state like Nagaland has got immense diversity, and these tribes would be warring with each other for supremacy, right? So because of their demands, right, each of these states were given their own, earlier they were given the status of a union territory, and later on converted to state. So Arunachal Pradesh also, which was a frontier region. See, during Britishers, you remember I had spoken of the inner line permit, ILP. So inner line permit was issued in 4 areas. This was North East Frontier Agencies, and then we have Nagaland, Manipur and Mizoram. These 4 states ILP was issued during Britishers' time. After independence, some of these states were actually a part of Assam, but inner line permit existed. And when there was an idea that these frontiers should be given different territorial dimensions, they should be given their own autonomy because of people's demand as well. Greater Nagaland, Tripura land, we have studied these. So let us give them their own statehood. So earlier this was converted, Arunachal was converted into a union territory, and then later given its own autonomy as a state, right? Converting them into a different state also is justified because Assam is largely a plain area and Arunachal is hilly, and then Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram are hilly states, right? Their requirements are different, programs to be done are different. This is the criteria for the division of Uttarakhand and Uttar Pradesh. This is the same criteria used for the division of Jharkhand from Bihar. Jharkhand, forested area away from the plains of Bihar. Now, when Arunachal Pradesh was converted into a different territory from Assam, according to the Bordoloi committee, Gopinath Bordoloi was the first chief minister of Assam. So, these tracts which were very, very close to the mountains, mountains in Arunachal, right? So what are the mountains alongside? Can you name the mountains here? There are mountains along the north and the east, both of them, right? So these mountains, the foothills of these mountains, according to the committee, they were brought into Assam. On the other hand, the people here wanted these foothills to be with them. They opposed at that time, but then according to the committee, it was accepted and they became a part of Assam. Now, when Assam is building roads over here, this is when the people of Arunachal, they are objecting to it. Very similar is the case with Mizoram as well, right? And it is a very, very sad state of affairs that states amongst themselves are fighting. We are not fighting against an outside enemy. We are fighting amongst our own policies, right? And people have died in Assam and Mizoram clashes. So this is a very sad state. In fact, I was expecting a federal issue question this year. It is a very, very important issue. Very, very important issue in paper 2. Extremely important for people appearing for the interview this time, and also for people appearing for the pre and main exam next year, right? You must know some facts and analysis of a situation and what is the solution. One of the states will have to compromise for these kind of territories now. So now they have said that we'll try to amicably resolve an issue like this. See, Bordoloi committee recommendations: around 4,000 square kilometers of plain area of the foothills was transferred from Arunachal Pradesh, then Nepal, to Assam. And this was considered as arbitrary. This demarcation was considered arbitrary. People not happy. When Assam is building this road, then people will be questioning it, right? People from Arunachal will be questioning. And there are many places with Assam, people have their, reservations about the boundaries, all right? So this is the update. These kind of conflicts are not only with Arunachal, with other states also, all right? So we have some questions here. Anonymous, good evening and welcome. Somik says, yes, quantum computing using qubits. Yes, Somik, thank you. Thank you for stating this. Had you been a part of our discussions last 2 months? 2 months back, we discussed one very, very important editorial on quantum computing. I explained the whole process of how is it different from the computing that happens in the regular, 1-0 bits and the different quantum bits. Qubits, absolutely correct. All right. 6th schedule, Assam, Tripura, Meghalaya, Manipur. All right. Good evening, Anonymous. Ravi says Gorkha land and Bodo land territories also, they're demanding their own statehood. Vakram says, I hail from this place. The real issue is not having proper demarcation during division. Most of the area were demarcated in assumption base, right? Okay, Vakram. Anonymous says, what's your opinion, sir, if production linked incentive should be changed to employment production linked incentive as it increases employment? I will get to it. Mishmi Patkaibum. All right. Abho. Yeah, Somik. Good. Dafla, Miri, Abhor, Mishmi. This is the sequence. Dafla, then Miri, Abhor, and then Mishmi. This is the sequence. Thank you. Thank you, Somik. Yes, Kriti, absolutely. Good. And then you've also named the mountains on the right side. Good. Great. So moving ahead to, yes, there was a question here. The question was, what is your opinion if PLI is changed to employment production linked incentive? This is the catch here. Lot of processes which are PLI driven, production linked incentive, they might not be employment generating. They might generate employment, but not in the proportion in which our country needs. They could be based on automation. They could be based on capital intensive technology, capital intensive, bole to capital goods, right? Iron industry, car manufacturing, automated industry. They could be based on these. If you want those kind of employments, what we are talking of is textile industry, employing a lot of people. What you're talking of is food processing industry. What you're talking of is leather industry, right? And very associated industries. Many of the industries are automated, right? So when you are giving production for this, the idea is not only to increase production, the idea is to export. We will be able to export effectively if the cost of production is lower. The cost of production is lowered if we are saving on the cost of employment. Can you see this catch? We are saving on the cost of employment because we want to make our exports more productive. And incremental exports, this is production linked incentive, this is PLI only if we have incremental production, not at the stagnant level of production, incremental. We have to compete with the best and outpart them. So to do that, we need automated and capital intensive industry right now. So my opinion would be that there's a different horizon of sectors which could be employment based, right? And for this employment based, government should have specific schemes. And this is the reason, this is the flexi approach, dear. This is the flexi approach. If you were there in yesterday's video, you draw a barbell here and you say, this is the flexible component. PLI, DLI are the flexible component. These are the components where the government is having flexible approach. And this is the safety net component, giving employment to people. Can you see this? Giving food to people in the short term. But yes, this is only revenue expenditure. This is capital expenditure. Seen the difference? Snapshot 3 is on India's Press Freedom Report 2022. See, the analysis that I have done just now, it actually forms a complete answer for main examination. Will fetch you very good marks in case you are able to look at this depth and give examples, some facts. You're done in this question. It will be very good. So you could note down these kind of facts and start looking at questions and answers from these perspective. And thank you for raising this question. Okay, Snapshot 3 is on India Press Freedom Report 2022. So this is conducted for domestic India, inside India only, by the Rights and Risk Analysis Group. Not very much in the newspaper, but still forms a lot of relevance. So the report stated that at least 6 journalists were killed and so many were targeted in India itself. What was the state in which it happened the most? Jammu and Kashmir, and then Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh, right? A female journalist also faced all these issues. Point I'm making here is if you note India's level in the Press Freedom Index, it is not very high. And this Press Freedom Index is not also non-partisan, it is partisan. The criteria used here are partisan. The criteria, one of the criteria is the attacks on journalists. Please be neutral while I discuss this point. So attacks on journalists does not mean attacks specifically by the government, correct? If it is happening in a place which is conflict ridden, for example, Jammu and Kashmir, or suppose Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh are no conflicts, right? So this is a different case. But if it is happening in Jammu and Kashmir, and there are some issues in which terrorist attacks are happening, these are again rated as places which are more vulnerable for Indian journalists. And because of this, India receives lower rank in Press Freedom Index. Not that our press is not given freedom, but we are not able to take care of the press, not take physical care of the press, and they get caught up in crossfiring. Crossfiring is the right word here. But if journalists are getting caught, Tripura is a good example, many other states, West Bengal, etc. If Uttar Pradesh, if they are getting caught up in sedition, section 124A, just because they have written against the government, the chief minister or the prime minister. This is against the freedom of speech, right? Many press reporters, I will not get political. I think we should not get political in this. So if they are getting arrested and detained, this is a cause of concern. If FIR is, being raised against a journalist just because they have raised a cause of concern by the government, so this is the cause of concern, right? So this is how you must, we must look at how the journalists are facing the issue in our country. But we must balance the answer. How should we balance? So there should be, for social media, start looking at the regulations also, the intention of the regulation. Social media, then we have online news companies and OTTs. The kind of regulation that the government has put on them is that there should be self-regulation of social media and online news providing companies. Self-regulation is the first circle. Second circle is a joint communion of these organizations. They should have, for example, PTI, Press Trust of India, we should have a self-regulating organization, overarching organization helping all these organizations. And the third level, the government should have, overarching regulation framework, 3 frameworks. So look at it from this perspective, self-regulation is the key. Look at it from this perspective, that the media also should ensure that it self-regulates itself. That is how we balance the answer, right? So what are the issues in which they have to regulate themselves? Fake news, right? Consultation before releasing a report, right? Civic space has to be maintained. These are the issues. All right, moving ahead to this day in history. Anonymous says, no sir, they weren't present yesterday. No worries, Anonymous. All right, Nandita Krishna also states the issue of Purvanchal, yeah, demanding statehood. All right. Press Freedom Index, Reporters Without Borders. Thank you very much. Reporters Without Borders, important NGO, international NGO, and although index has some issues with itself, but still India is a country which has less press freedom in the world. We should acknowledge that. This day in history dedicated to World Cancer Day. Now this has been recognized internationally, this particular day, and the number of people, proportion of people is only rising. Those people who are affected by the disease cancer, and in fact the ICMR, Indian Council of Medical Research, has stated that the number is again bound to rise by 12% by the year 2025. See, 12% rise in cancer cases. What is the cause? Lifestyle habits, the kind of eating habits, the technological developments, microplastics. Whatever we consume, we become, and we are not able to advance the medical sciences at the rate at which our body is advancing, right? And in the positive or negative direction. This is the cause. And you should start looking at examples from Bhatinda to Bikaner, right? The Cancer Express. Why? Because of contaminated water that people consume, groundwater, or the kind of fertilizer use that is happening. There's a complete train which is called as Cancer Express. This is such a sad state of affairs in India. But of course, this day is World Cancer Day. So happening throughout the world. Divestment policy, very, very good future news. Don't miss out on this. This is criticism of how government has been performing. A very important analysis of divestment measures taken in India until now and what could be done in the future. Tracks on the surface of Mars. This is the image. Wow. Probably the first time ever, these are the kind of images that we have got when the earthly objects are moving on Mars, right? So we have rovers, Curiosity and Perseverance rover. They are moving in Mars and we have taken photographs. Now what can be done with these photographs? See, when photographs are taken and the photographs are taken after 10 minutes, after a day, after 5 days or a week, and then after a fortnight, the difference in photographs will tell us if the level of dust, or what is the level of speed of winds in a planet like Mars. So they will tell a lot about the landscape, physical geography of Mars through even the movement of rovers or their tire marks in Mars. Right? So beautiful image, Martian. Watch that movie, good movie. Term and concept, Hoysala temples. India has proposed the entry of Hoysala temples in UNESCO's, the monuments of heritage. India has got 40 monuments as of now, physical and cultural monuments which are a part of UNESCO World Heritage Sites. And out of these there are 7 of them. Would you like to tell me what is the number? I would like to tell you, out of these 40s, one of them is the one which is mixed. And which is this site? Can you people tell me? There are 7 sites of physical importance. There are 32 sites of cultural relevance in our country. Red Fort, Qutub Minar, and Taj Mahal. There are a lot of them, 32 of them in the country. And we have also proposed Hoysala temples. These are a group of temples in Karnataka, right? Proposed by our country. And the one mixed site, which is this mixed site? Tell me the name, please. Mountainous. A hint to you. Proposed only right now, and if found, we will also put them in the final list. The startup capital, right? Informally, Bengaluru was the startup capital in our country, but now it has Delhi has overtaken with a certain degree of startups getting instituted in Delhi itself. So over 5,000 recognized startups were added in Delhi between April 2019 and December 2021. 1.5 years of Corona, and more than 5,000 startups only in Delhi, and around 4,500 in Bangalore. So Delhi has overtaken. This was a part of economic survey. And India is the country which is third in the number of startups around the world. USA, China, and then India. All right. Look at this. Most of India's startups are in the IT. However, number of startups in the space sector has increased from 11 to 47 in between the last 2 years. Great achievement. All right. Space sector liberalization. The question of space sector was asked last year in geography optional. It could be asked in each of them, right? Public administration or the political science international relations option. It has been in news all the time. This is the feed for you. All right. Kanchenjunga, great. Stomach, Netra, Hima, Preeti, Anonymous, Ashish, very much updated. Great. Parasitic flowering plant. So this flowering plant has been found in the Andaman Nicobar Islands, and it is a parasitic flowering plant found in temperate and tropical areas both. How should you utilize this fact? Now, remember this is parasitic flowering plant, and this is not indigenous. This is exotic variety, not found here previously. So how you can relate to this is the development of Nicobar Islands. Remember, we studied about the proposal of the government, EIA of development of Nicobar Islands. If you look at that perspective, and if we have parasitic flowering plants which are coming from other spaces or species from here, they might as well be dominating species, or predominant, might as well be predator in nature, and they might spoil the biodiversity of a place like Andaman Nicobar. We don't know, but if we conduct these kind of economic activities, more of trading ships coming, the blast water coming out in these places, we will have more of invasive species here, right? So invasive species, predative species, loss of keystone species, parasitic flower plants. Keywords for you. Example is here. All right. This is how you can look at it. Khasi language. See, many of the languages do have presence in India, but we don't have a script for them. And it's important not to only preserve the script, but also to have a regional dictionary for it. So the Khasi Authors Society has undertaken the task of compiling Khasi to Khasi dictionary. So that, see, right now we have English to Hindi dictionary, Hindi to English dictionary, and various other languages, Tamil to English, Marathi to English, English to Marathi. But what about the regional language dictionary itself? Right. So this is the initiative of people in Meghalaya, a great initiative to be able to help preserve the local languages. Right. So a language is endangered if it is spoken by less than how many people? 10,000 or 1,000? This is the update from here. Khasi. See, it says Khasi books were written in Assamese script, and Khasi was the first written with Latin alphabet. Thomas Jones. All right. Written in the Assamese script. This is important here. Editorials. The first editorial is parasitic plants. All right. Parasitic plants. Nuclear energy in India. A very, very important editorial. This editorial speaks of India's ambition to ramp up nuclear capacity in the country. Nuclear capacity. Now, the point was to ensure that India reaches 60 gigawatt of nuclear capacity by the year 2032. 60 gigawatt. 60 gigawatt. And right now what we have is less than 7,000 gigawatt in 2020. This plan was repeated a number of times, 2003, 4, 2008, 9, 12, but they didn't understand that probably we will not be able to ramp up to that level. We achieved only 7,000 gigawatt right now. The established nuclear energy is hardly 4% of the total energy in India. This is nuclear energy that I am speaking of. But in the same time, if you look at the renewable energy growth, it was considerably very fast, right? Why? Advantages of renewable energy over nuclear energy. Possible question, main question. Now, nuclear energy takes huge chunk of capital investment for it to get formed. Capital investment. It takes the time required, the incubation period required in installment of the nuclear energy is far high. For example, to generate solar energy, only solar photovoltaic cells have to be put in and the solar panel, and then it starts generating energy. In case of nuclear, the whole installation has to be set up and then only it starts running. 3, 4, 5 years incubation period. The capital is high. Capital in solar and wind is not as high. Look at the risk associated here. Risk associated, people, they are oblivious of what this potential is, and they fear the nuclear contamination, right? So there are various risks associated with nuclear energy. On the other hand, renewable energy, capital required is certainly not as much, incubation period is not as much, gestation period, and then we have the risk associated very less, and India is a tropical country having huge, enormous, potent benefits. So this is the reason that renewable energy was preferred in India. It grew at a very good pace, 100 gigawatt, and now we have nuclear stagnant at 3/4. One of the reasons why India did not grow in nuclear was the Fukushima disaster that happened in the year 2010-11, right? So this is one of the reasons. And other things, what are the other things? India, now this is in comparison to China, where China has developed fast, South Korea has also developed very fast in nuclear potential and capacity. If you look at what is next for India, so what we are looking at is the small module reactors. Right now, India has got pressurized heavy water reactors, 700 megawatt capacity, 700 megawatt, one institution. And India has got around 20 institutions of these capacity, around 20 of them, right? So on the other hand, if you look at the small module reactors, these are reactors with less than 300 megawatt capacity. One reactor will be less than 300 megawatt, right? So 200 megawatt ideally. These are small, right? So they are being proposed, and there's a lot of research happening around the world whether they'll be successful or not. There are various models in which they are working. For example, one of the model is in which the spent fuel has to be made reutilizable, right? But the issue with small module reactors is scalability. When we have only 300 megawatt, can we make this energy scalable? No, because we will have to install a lot of small module reactors. So its scalability is one issue, and mass production is another issue. Mass production is not an issue per se. If we have many small modules, then the mass production price will be less. But in India, we don't have demand also of nuclear energy. We have more demand of the renewable energy. So this is the reason that mass production is also against us, and scalability is also against us as far as small module reactors are concerned, right? So this is the state in India. What China and Korea have are largely 600, 700, 1000 plus megawatt capacity. India doesn't have those power capacities in nuclear plants right now. So they have more scalability, they have potential of mass production right now. So this is the update from here. And yes, another small point here was ORF article presented was that in renewable energy, this needs to be supplemented somehow with another form of energy. Can it be nuclear energy? No, it cannot be nuclear energy. Why? Because in daytime, if we require less burning of nuclear fuel and less production, at night time we require more of nuclear energy, this can be actually changed. It can be modulated, but it will result in lesser performance of this nuclear device. It will also result in problems in technical, it will result in technical glitches of the nuclear infrastructure. So this is not a possibility to supplement renewable energy, right? So you can note this point as well. Please do remember one more thing here. Is nuclear energy clean or not? We have discussed this. Is nuclear energy clean or not? Does it have carbon footprints or not? Climate change, does it aid climate change or not? A very important concern, because this is how the government or you will be proposing if government should spend more on renewable energy or nuclear energy or conventional energy only, coal gasification. There was a criticism of coal gasification also. We will discuss that someday. But right now, we have covered this aspect of why nuclear energy, is it carbon intensive or not? Yes, it is carbon intensive. If we spend huge infrastructure on the generation of those exhausts, right, that is carbon intensive. In the long run, what will happen to the spent fuel? That has to be saved somewhere. So nuclear energy has got its own repercussions, right? We have covered this aspect, renewable and nuclear comparison. The second one is global minimum corporate tax. We have covered this quite a few times. It was in news quite a few months back, 2-3 months back. There are two pillars of it, right? So first pillar says that multinational companies will have to pay 25% over and above a certain minimum profit, right? They will have to pay 25% rate of taxation. And the second one is 15% of corporate tax, so that governments are able to avoid the evasion of taxes or shifting of profit basis. So this is it. India was losing some money through this, and India will not be able to lose money when they tax with global minimum corporate tax. Wetland conservation was in news because of International Wetland Day. All right. So we have created 2 more wetlands in the country. We will discuss that in one of the terms, right? And they are very, very important sources of biodiversity in the country. This is why wetlands are important. Wetlands are a part of international. There was a Ramsar Convention organized in the year 1970s only again. And after that, wetlands of international importance were formed. In fact, wetlands are also, when you look at the complete definition of the declared wetlands under Ramsar Convention, they also talk of a species of birds. Can you name them? Water. What is the name of the bird species that they talk of preservation? Right? Name that. So this article is related to preservation of wetlands in the country. These are the places which are not only vulnerable to exploitation, they're also containers of the biodiversity. They're also containers of environmental rejuvenation, most of it. And wetlands are located around those areas which are marine and continental as well. So you should know about the major wetlands in the country. There are around 50 of them, and know how to preserve them, right? So we have some questions here. Let me see the question. 10,000. All right, Babani and Amlan, good. 10,000. Less than 10,000 people speaking a particular language, that becomes more vulnerable. All right. So Mithun asked target of 60,000, 60 gigawatt. This was the target set up long time back, around 15 years back. 2003-4, and then 2008 they reiterated this target. 2010 also they reiterated this target, the government itself. But now when they look at these targets that they had spoken of 10-12 years back, they say that this was the maximum capacity that we were looking at. Ab kya kare? They have to hide their face? No. So this is what they say. So this target is not to be mentioned. This is not the target which has been declared by the government, right? So they will be looking at very modest target to grow with, because not a lot of nuclear projects were stalled, right? So you will not mention this as a target for now. Yes, but when you criticize the nuclear installations or the progress of nuclear energy in India, you will definitely mention this point. We targeted 60,000 megawatt or 60 gigawatt by the year 2032. Right? And we have less than 7,000, 6,900, something around this. Kanchenjunga is mixed site. Thank you, Nandita. Should it be 7,000 megawatt? 7,000 megawatt. Did I mention 7,000 gigawatt? No, 7,000 megawatt, 7 gigawatt. All right. Thank you for pointing it out. If I made a mistake here, Somek says nuclear has least carbon footprints, but we can't say it is zero. See, when you compare nuclear with solar, nuclear with wind, nuclear with geothermal, I'm talking of nuclear comparison with renewable. Nuclear does have a substantial proportion of climate change. All right. See, Nandita also says high techno-environmental cost radiations. Good phrase to use. All right. Netra says 1971 is the year for the Ramsar Convention initiation. All right. Amlan, very good. These two wildlife sanctuaries now converted to the Ramsar sites. They get funds. Water exists near. Yes. Thank you for defining the places. If you like this initiative, share some love through likes, comments and shares. उसमें कमी नहीं हो, so that we are able to serve you even better with time. What is this case study? A beautiful case study of a home that was created out of the natural elements, natural earthen elements in Kerala. This was through a person who worked in the government department for a very long time, right? So worked in the water works departments of the government, and when he came back to his own home, he was working in Tamil Nadu, came back to Kerala. A very, very inspiring story. He said that the context is very right for me to start working for my home. It was a rural piece of land, right? The rural country life, and the home was very old, so he said let's rejuvenate it. But the concretization of homes was a costly affair, environmentally and money wise also, financially also. So what he did was that he started looking at some innovative concepts of this project at his home. So in Kerala, if you see, bamboo is found, right? And then we have the leaves and twigs of the trees there, right? So those can be utilized. So leaves and twigs, right? So if we have the palm tree, the leaves and twigs, they could be utilized to create the walls. And this is what he did. He utilized these bamboos and twigs and leaves to be able to create artificial walls. Not only that, the laterite soil in the region was, see, people from optional can pick up this kind of innovations, and also for GS. The lateral soil in the region, which was not to be used for agriculture, he utilized them to be able to create the interlocking grids. So this is how the bricks would be like, and this would have an outlet here. They would interlock with each other to be able to create a complete wall structure. So he evaded those crushers which would be utilizing stones or the sand from river mining or the soil from the hill area soils. The hills would be cut, the sand would be taken from river banks, and the stones would be cut. And you know what happens in Kerala? Because of these kind of issues, stone cutting, sand mining, or removal of soil from hill areas, there is more of natural disaster. There is more of flooding. There is more of landsliding. There is more of regional earthquakes. There is a tendency for the dams to burst because of these kind of issues. So imagine he saved it all. And even if we are removing sand from our own backyard, that backyard could be used for water recharging. So he also created a 50,000 liter water recharging pit and used the same sand to be able to create these kind of walls, artificial walls. Now, better part about these walls is that they are also breathable. There is no requirement of air conditioning in his home. So this completely, in a very, very good way, encompasses what a green building code should be like. Green building code. Remember, if you people remember, every building has two components of intensive carbon. Two components. One is the structure based, and the second one is utility or function based. Structure based is the one in which what kind of carbon intensive mechanism am I applying? Am I using stones here? Am I using cement here? They all take a lot of carbon for them to get created. We are not using them. So structure is getting created without carbon footprints. And what about utility? We are not using air conditioners. We are using the natural cooling techniques here. So utility base is also very low for the carbon footprint. Great example of these mud walls created, right? So this is how they have created this. You can use this at 3-4 places. For example, when you talk of usage of natural products, right? So local ecology, this is one. You can use water, you can use energy. Many ways you can use this beautiful case study. I was very inspired to look at this. And the cost, in fact, is far lesser than conventional concrete homes. The code for today is we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. These are the solutions, right? So if you like this initiative, share some love through likes, comments and shares. Keep noting the points so that you are at pace with what we do here, and questions are most welcome. We will keep progressing ahead one by one, and then as and when you build your capacity, you will be in a position to start answer writing, right? So for that, you have to write these things at some place, and memorize them, revise them towards the end of the week. Tomorrow is a Saturday. Revise them at the end of the day, at the end of the week, so that it retains with you, and then answers are not very far. Your ambitions are not very far. So Somik says artificial sand in Kerala. See, so this is the answer. Water exists at or near earthen surface, swamps, marshes and bogs. All right. So thank you for participating. See you very quickly in the feature news for today, that is on the disinvestment policy of the government. Thank you for participating. Please put your questions down. Thank you.